Hi, this is Kim with Mom's Creative Moments, and I am bringing you another modified project recipe today. If you are familiar with Creative Memories collection called Snowbound that came out a couple years ago, or maybe just a year ago. No, I think it was a couple years ago. Anyway, this is it came out in 2021, so that is just last year. Wow, okay, so sorry, time just gets away from us sometimes. All right, so I am going to modify the project recipe that was designed for Snowbound to accommodate some pictures that I need to incorporate into my album from a trip to Yosemite that we made earlier this spring. And so I'm going to be doing a couple of different things. This project recipe calls for a lot of paper. I am not going to be using as much paper as this project recipe normally calls for. Normally, a project recipe calls for 2 to 3 sheets of paper. This one calls for 5, and I'm just not going to be using that much paper. So I hope that this will appeal to some of you who are like me and you don't feel like you need to cover every inch of every page with designer paper. So we're going to use our Creative Memories border maker system, and I have chosen this border maker, which is called the Spring Leaf border maker, and it's not the one that the original project recipe called for, but this one is one that will work. We need to have one that we can cut down the center of the design. So this one will work for what I'm trying to do today. And if you come up with a different one, you're welcome to. The one that the original design calls for using is the let's see if I can, the mirrored scallop chain border maker cartridge is the one that they use in the example, but we're going to be using a different one today. So that is also going to be kind of a unique feature about this layout. So I'm just going to set that aside for a minute and get some things out of the way here so that we can get started. So I have 3 pieces of paper that I'm going to be using. I have a forest green piece of cardstock, or a dark green piece of cardstock, and the designer papers that I have here are from an older collection. This is the Adventurers Wanted collection, or the Adventure collection from a while back. Let me make sure that's right. Oh no, I'm sorry, this is the Explorer collection. I have a couple of them out on my desk. So this is the Explorer collection. This has this nice brown and kind of rusty red colored plaid, and then a really nice mountainous design with animals, bears, antelope, deer, that kind of thing. Not antelope, but deer. Maybe they have antelope in Yosemite, I don't know. Probably more likely to have deer. Anyways, so sorry, I'm kind of not really together today. So we're going to go ahead and cut these papers, and we're going to incorporate these photos, which are also not the photo sizes that this project recipe is designed for. So just bear with me, and I'm going to show you how we're going to do this. I'm going to move these momentarily so that we can go ahead and get these pages cut. All right, so we're going to start with a green, and we're just going to do one border that we're going to punch. So here we've got our border maker. We're going to put our green cardstock in there and flip the guide back. Just going to go ahead and punch. This dark green cardstock is pretty thick, so it does take a little bit more muscle than punching a designer paper would. But I love this border because it is nice and thick, and like I said, we can cut down the center of this and separate it for our purposes today, and it will be make a really nice addition to our layout. So let me get rid of our punch confetti there. And for right now, we're not going to use any more of this green. I'm going to set that aside, but bear in mind that I may need it again at some point. For right now, though, we're not going to use it. We're going to punch 3 more borders, but this time we're going to use our plaid paper to do that. And so we're going to go ahead and get 3 of these punched quickly. Whatever paper you choose in the place of this plaid, it needs to be something that you are okay with the back of. And this is going to go right onto my natural colored page. This is a very neutral pattern on the back, but it should show up still because it's lighter than the natural colored page that I'm going to be putting it on. According to the project recipe, they would have us put cardstock down there or another paper to put it on top of, which may be necessary, but I'm going to try really hard to avoid doing that just because I don't really want all that extra paper. So there's number 2. Another thing I'm going to be doing is kind of inverting the layout to accommodate my photos, because I have an enlargement that I made that needs to go on the right-hand side of my 2-page layout. And so I think it will look nicer if I have the layout switched around, which is okay. We can do that. We have that flexibility to be able to go ahead and flip it. So, all right, so now we have those 3 borders punched. Now we're going to need our trimmer. I'm going to bring my trimmer in here, and we're going to go ahead and punch. Take this little reminder tag off for myself. We're going to punch 2 that are 1/2 inch by 12 inches long. So we're going to scoot our paper up to the edge of our grid lines right here on the right hand side. That's 1/2 inch. So we're going to do 1/2 inch. There's 1. And another 1/2 inch. There's 2. Okay, then we need a 3/4 piece. So we're going to scoot it over 3/4 of an inch. There's our 3/4 piece, and we're actually going to be flipping that piece and using this side. So just flip that over just for the sake of doing that. We'll flip. Oh, we need that one flip. Never mind. Okay, we'll get there eventually. All right, and then the remaining 2 pieces are mats. So I'm going to go ahead and wait on those because I'm not really sure that I'm actually going to use mats on this layout. So that's kind of my dilemma with that, but we're just gonna wait. Now this final piece right here, I need to be especially careful about, because since I am flipping my design the opposite direction, I want to make sure my mountains are going the proper way. So I need a strip. I need one strip that's going to be 4 by 12 and one piece that's going to be 8 by 12. And the 8 by 12 is going to be this side, or it could be this side, I guess. So I guess it's not as critical as I was thinking. I was thinking I was gonna have to be really careful about that, but I think we'll be all right. Let's go ahead and cut. So we have one 4" by 12 and one 8" by 12. All right, let's go ahead and see if we should be able to assemble this with just the pieces that we have here, because the rest of the cutting really was designed around mats, with the exception of the fact that we need to cut this border in half. So actually, before we put this away, let's go ahead and cut this border into 2 pieces. So I'm just going to line this up with the circles that go down the center of this are going to go right on my cutting line, which I can see on my mat through the holes. And a cool trick for if you have to cut something like this is you just put a little bit of repositionable adhesive on it, and then that way it's not going to move around on you once you get it where you want it to be to cut. And then you can rub the adhesive right off. Okay, so there we go. Then we can run our trimmer down it, and we've got 2 separate border pieces. Perfect. Okay. So this border, let me go ahead and move my photos so I can access my page. There's that. There's my other page. Just going to take these off. They're just sitting on a piece of cardstock so I can keep them in order. Okay, so this piece is going to go over here. This piece is going to go over here. But in the meantime, we have some playing to do with some paper. So let me I'm going to set these green pieces up here. Oh, there's a bug spray little icon that I used in a different layout this morning, or was going to use and didn't. All right, so let's see here. We are going to put so this piece is going to go all the way on the outside out here, and then this piece is going to go on the inside of that. Then this piece will go next to it. All right. Then what we do with these is we find the center. So we've got our 12" strip. Hopefully you can see that on the video. We have our 12" strip, and this is the center point. So what we want is we want to be able to have 6 inches so I'm going to layer that, or have this on a line so that I can judge where 6 inches is, because we want, actually the best thing to do is put my outer edge on a line and then 6 inches up. Let me get my little sticky note. We're going to have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, so to there. That's going to be 6 inches. So here's my 6" mark across, and I'm going to want to bring this up so that I have 6 inches meeting in the middle. and then I'm going to fold it very carefully. Does that make sense? Just like that. All right. Okay, so then I'm going to do the same thing, actually the opposite of that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So we're going to line up the base of my design on that 6, on what would be my 0 line essentially. Then I'm going to bend my pattern all the way up to the 6-inch mark. And the reason is because I want my folded pieces to meet in the middle. You'll see in just a second what I mean by that. Okay. So now we're going to we can either have, let's see, we can either have there we go. Have those meet like so. Although, and that is the way the pattern is made, but I want a little more variety out here. I don't want these to be the same. So I'm gonna go ahead and move these and put this on the end, I think. Maybe we'll do that. Either that, or we could just overlap these. Like so, and leave a little bit of room. Maybe we'll do like that. And then we carry through this design onto this page. So there will be approximately 4 inches, maybe a little bit more of this design on this page. Okay, so I'm going to cut this one in half, and I really don't have to be super careful. I'm not going to use my trim or anything. I just need shorter pieces. So I'm going to rough cut that in half so that I can just place it under. Like so. Okay. Now these pieces right here are going to go along the edge of our design. So the flat edge that we cut will go along the edge of our edge piece, our flat edge piece. And this one, oh, hello, will go along the edge of this piece over here. Now, let me make sure that that's going to work for the pictures that I have and how I wanted to lay out the pictures, because I'm not certain. I'm going to trim these down so they're not quite so big. I think that might be okay. We're going to cover up a lot of the border that we're putting in, unless we modify it just a little bit, which we could do. We could move these out just a little bit. We could flip them. And overlap them like this. And then we can cut a portion of this piece to go onto here. Well, let's see. You know what? I think I'm going to go with that because there's a lot of green in these pictures, and I think that will work. So let's go ahead and start adhering down, and we'll worry about trimming these when we get there so that they're more accurate. Okay, so let's scoot this over this way. And first thing I'm going to do is go ahead and put these down, but I'm using repositionable adhesive because given that I'm modifying this, who knows what we might need to adjust. So we're going to do like that. Then we're going to put this piece down. Make sure your mountains are facing the right way if you're using a paper that's directional. Almost goofed. Okay. And we've got this strip. This is a lot of brown, and I know you're probably thinking, wow, that's a lot of brown. That page is going to be really boring. And hopefully not. Hopefully the photos, because they are of an outdoors, they're pictures of Yosemite, so there are just a ton of green trees and blue sky in the pictures. Hopefully that will make up for our lack of color in our complementary papers here. All right, so I'm gonna place this just a little bit, just to add a little bit more dimension, and also it might make it so that we can see that border a little bit better once I have that 5x7 on there, which is going to take up a lot of room. Most important part about this particular layout is getting this center portion, the folding, right. And I'm overlapping mine just slightly so that I get it all on here. I probably could have done a little bit better job centering those because my margin up here is not as wide as my margin down here. We could move this. It is repositionable, so let's try that. Let's move it just a little. Move it down. There, that's better. Okay, now, and if you're a super stickler, like I know some of us are really concerned about this, my fold down here, my design, darker design goes over the top, where the fold up here, the darker design goes on the bottom. So it's up to you. If it really bothers you, you can flip it the other way very easily once you've got it on there. So not too big of a deal. Okay. Now this is kind of important. You don't want your design, when you add on like this, you want to make sure your design is heading in the right direction, the same direction as the design that's already on here. So just check that and be careful when you're adding it in here. I'm going to put that on there, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my precision cut scissors and very carefully, with not too much pressure, I'm just going to cut right along the jeeping, just cutting the paper border so that I can separate those very carefully. Like that. Okay, so there's that one. Oh, there's my other piece. Hello. Here it is. Blends in. Okay, so this piece is going to go here. And then we're going to again take our scissors and very carefully, because you don't want to cut your page, you only want to cut the paper. If you have an X-Acto knife, this also works really well with an X-Acto knife. And if you are cutting something more involved than just a little border like this, I usually take my zero centering ruler and just lean it right up against my jeeping. And then it's very easy to just cut, and you don't have to worry about cutting your design where you don't want it. There we go. Okay, so there's one side. Now we're going to do the other side. Now the first thing I'm going to do is go ahead and put down these borders, because we need them to match and be in the same position so that the border flows from one side to the other. So we're going to line these up so that the pages are even. There we go. Okay. And we're going to put adhesive all the way across, or you can just do, you know, a little adhesive here and there. And I'm actually going to trim this one just a little bit, because when I cut it, I tore it just a little. I don't want it to have that rough edge, so we're just going to trim it just a little bit. There we go. But my cut is sideways, so bear with me a second, because it's crooked. And now my page adjusted. Okay, here we go. There. All right. Let me go ahead and just trim this one as well, just a little bit. See if I can do a better job. Line up my pages again so that I can make sure I've got this in the right spot. There we go. I'm just going to set that out of the way now for a second. And we'll go ahead and get this larger piece adhered. so much for bearing with me today. I have had a long and crazy week with my teenager away at camp, forgetting things and trying to get her what she needed. Any of you guys have the same scenario going on in your home right now for the summer? You try to make sure she has what she needs. Sometimes, depending on what it is, she just has to go without. But there was an instance she needed something rather important, so we had to get that to her. And by the time we got home, wow, that was a long night trying to get her what she needed and get back home so that we could resume life as we normally need it to be. All right, there's our other border. Okay, now we're ready for our photos. Okay, and these 3 photos I have pre-cut already so that they would fit with a tiny little margin in between them. I may need to trim a little bit more off though, I think, because I want a little bit of my design at the bottom to show. And I have all this sky, especially in this picture, that I can trim just a little bit and we won't lose any of the important bits. So let's just start with a 1/4 inch and trim off just a bit of that blue and see if we can make this work just a little bit better. Oh yeah, I like that much better. So we can still have a little bit of a gap between the photos and still see a little bit of our design. That works. And then I've got these 2, which I need to trim also. So this one's gonna go right there. And then these 2 photos I want to trim to 5 inches long so that they will fit in my space. And really I'm just cutting off a little bit of trees at the base of this one and a little bit of rock at the base of this one. But actually, let's see, we're going to take just a little bit of the sky at the top and then trim off to make this 5 inches so that we can still see the rock. I could take a little more sky and leave a little more rock. Maybe that's what I'll do. We'll just do another quick 1/8 of an inch of the sky. So we have just a little more rock in the picture at the bottom. All right, I like that better. I am not afraid to trim my pictures, especially if it's going to make the final outcome better. So we've got 2 pictures of essentially the same thing, although in this picture you can see the this waterfall in the background down here. So I wanted to have that in there. All right. So I'm not going to matte these photos. You could certainly matte these photos, and if I were going to matte them, I would probably matte them in some dark green. But I'm not going to worry about it because my photos are so large. Originally, this project recipe calls for 3 very small photos to go in this column right here, and the photos I had to work with kind of called out for something different. So this is what we're gonna do. And so let me go ahead and we'll go ahead and get these put on here, and then we'll come up with some embellishments. Trying to leave an equal boundary around each photo. Because even though they're not matted, in effect, the background is what's going to sort of matte the photo. And again, you can matte them if you want to. It's totally up to you. I just did not want to use all of the paper that it would have required. And I tend to be a little more of a minimalist that way. Not always, because mattes do lend a nice touch to a layout, for sure. But you know, some of the time you don't need them. So you can, when you have 3 photos taking up a space like this, you can lay them out with the center one in the center first, and then put your outside ones on at an even rate, or you can do both of the outside ones and then put the middle one on. Either way, that enables you to make sure that the center one is centered. Sometimes it is easier though if you put the center one in first, and then the outside ones can be as far away from the center one as you like. But because I already had these laid on here, I kind of knew how they were gonna fall. All right, and I'm going to put this one kind of into my boundary over here on the side, just a tad bit. All right, now we do need a journal box on this page to talk about some things. So let's see what we can come up with for embellishments. And okay, I'm having a day, guys. Okay, here's the stickers. All right, so we can add to our green on the page by adding this, maybe this branch. We could do "May the forest be with you." That would be cute. We didn't go fishing, so I'm not going to worry about those. Let's see. Let's do the "May the forest be with you." Come on, come off of there. All right. "May the forest be with you." I'm just gonna stick that down here for a quick second. And I want to put an embellishment here in the corner, and I want to put something, maybe something small up here, and then something down here in this corner. So let's see. We could use the adventure arrow down here in this corner, along with some other things, because our adventure is going to continue there. We're going to use this tree. It's not really a tree, it's more like a branch, but I'm going to put it vertical so that it's sort of like a tree. Come on. Wow, these stickers are not coming off easily. It's almost like they're not quite cut through in places. Come on. Okay. So this is going to be a branch that's going to kind of, so we're going to maybe stick that down like that. need something over here to function as a journal box. So I think I'm going to need some additional paper to do that. And I don't have a lot of paper left from my layout. We used a lot of it, but actually I do have some more of this. So let's use some of this. And I'm just gonna cut, about three inches off of this. And we're gonna make a 3x5 box. That's gonna tuck in right there. Let me grab my all-purpose tool. You've got to love your all-purpose tool. If you have one, I'm sure you use it all the time. If you don't have one, trust me, you may need one. I, for years, went without one, thinking I did not need one, and I just couldn't see what the hubbub was. But let me tell you, as soon as I started using it, wow, made my life so much easier, especially with fingernails that I have, which are my nails. They're just reinforced underneath. All right, I should have adhered that first. My bad. But if you have reinforced nails, you understand that it's really hard to pick up paper sometimes when you can't get your nail underneath it. All right, so we're just gonna go ahead and put this guy right about there. I'm not gonna pop him up because he's so large. We're just gonna put him right down on the paper. This one's gonna go up here in the corner. So let's see if we can figure out the rest of our embellishments here. So I've got adventure and may the forest be with you. Let's use these cute bear prints. Even though we don't have bears on this page, I think they will be cute. If we set those on either side of this, like so. And then we'll pop that up just a little bit with some foam squares. So we'll stick a foam square up here, another one over here, another one right here in the middle. Sometimes I actually cut my foam squares to accommodate larger designs or tiny little designs, like the tops of these trees. If you cut one of these, then you can stick it on there. Let me show you what I mean. So you can just take maybe the one here in the corner, cut it in half. Does take a little bit of maneuvering, but if you have some tweezers, that works great. You can set that right on there, and it just fills that gap so that the top of my tree is not going to be adhered to the page since it's a sticker. Actually, I think I might need another one right in there. Another one right in there. almost done. So we'll stick this right up here. May the forest be with you. So cute. All right, and then we need something over here for our adventure. Let's see. We're gonna put this other bough of leaves, maybe coming off the top of our little adventure sign. And then let's see, what else? We could put a flashlight, maybe. We could use our sign down here that says nature adventure. Our nature adventure. Okay, and then I'm going to pop this up as well. Probably could use larger foam squares on this. I run out of my large foam squares so quickly that I'm trying to make better use of my tiny ones. So I don't know if you can hear that. My air conditioning fan just turned off, and it's so quiet now where it was kind of noisy before. It's funny how you get used to a noise and you don't really notice it until it's not there. Okay, so this one's going to go down here, and I'm going to kind of put it about halfway, well, a third of the way up my page like that. Okay. Now we need to add just a little bit more to our branch over here. And I'm going to use our binoculars. Binoculars always make me think of my dad. My dad had a pair of binoculars that he seemed to always have with him. I don't know if he just kept them in the car or if because I think he kept them in the house. It's funny, but he just always seemed to have them with him. Possible that he planned ahead, huh? And he knew when we might need them. Dads are good that way. Okay, and I'm going to use this other little piece that I cut up here on the top of the binoculars handle because it's kind of long and it will get stuck down to my page if I don't. And I'm going to need a third item to add to this cluster. Let's see. Maybe, let's see, I don't know. Maybe we'll just add this pine cone right here. We'll pop that up using one of these bigger ones. All right, Now, there we go. There's our finished layout using the Snowbound project recipe, but clearly we're not using it on snowy things. So just know I love the versatility of project recipes. You can apply them to any collection, and I think this really illustrates well the fact that you can use lots of different ideas. We incorporated several different changes to this, changing the punch, changing the paper, changing the orientation of the photos and the sizes of them, and then also where the embellishment clusters are located as well. So I hope that you've enjoyed this video. I've enjoyed putting it together for you, and I hope that it's useful in helping you create some beautiful pages for your albums as well. And until next time, I'm wishing you many more creative moments. Have a great day.